Hi, I'm Mikey. I'm Raj.
Howdy, I'm Ryan, and today I'm going to be talking to you all about a little informative speech over the series Game of Thrones. Television series have been around for a long time now, and they've always struggled with one problem, and that's to keep their viewers on their feet and always wanting to come back for the next seasons. The first show I can think of with this problem for me is going to be The Walking Dead. I was a huge fan of the show and I kept up with it from seasons 1 through 6, but the only problem I ran into every single show was I knew what to expect. Zombies. There was nothing going to be different about that show, and I was correct. I thought I wasn't going to watch television anymore after experiencing this loss of The Walking Dead, but that was until I came to the series Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is a popular television series among our generation that many are watching. If you take a look on social media, it actually has taken over quite a bit, but there are a lot of references that aren't understood. But once you start watching the show, you can understand those references. So, from my own experience. Game of Thrones isn't a show that has one storyline in one genre. Rather, it is set in a kingdom with multiple families, multiple storylines, and genres. No matter what you're interested in, there's going to be something for you. I have finished many television series in my life, and I thought they were good to be honest, but I can confidently say that Game of Thrones is one of my favorite shows today. And I haven't even finished the series yet, which is to say something. I used to believe that the show was only going to be for the super fans, and I wouldn't be able to get into it because it was so long and I missed out on so much. But I gave the show a chance and watched 1 to 2 episodes full through, and I'm completely hooked. Today, I'm going to talk to you all about 3 main points in the series. I'm going to talk about the author and the novel, I'm going to talk about the increasing popularity of the show, and I'm going to talk about the television series that's on right now and my personal opinion on it. The series started out as books by author George R.R. Martin. George R.R. Martin came out with the first book in the series in 1996, and he's dated all the way up to date with 2 more books that are going to be announced. These books were released in 1996, 1998, 2000, 2005, and 2011. Believe it or not, the popularity from the show didn't come from the books though. The popularity only started to arise once the television show was released. In a quote by George R.R. Zimmerman, he said, "If I were 30 years younger, I could easily write a series about the Dance of the Dragons, the Targaryen Civil War, or I could write the story of the Aegon's conquest. Every one of the 13 children of Jaehaerys and Alysanne has a story that could be told about him or her, their rise, their fall, their triumphs, their deaths. It was a lot of fun to create, a lot of fun to live in that world again." George R.R. Martin, with his most recent released book, he accidentally came across it by 2 superfans he met at a coffee shop. These 2 superfans were in that coffee shop working on a spin-off release of the novel series when they asked George Martin if he could look over it and maybe fluff a few details for them. Well, while George was going over their final product and looking into fluffing it and making it a little bit more detailed, he ran into one problem. He accidentally wrote 350,000 words, which created the whole new storyline in his own story, which therefore he released his newest book of Fire and Blood. Now that I've talked to you all about the novel and the author, I would like to talk to you all about the increasing popularity of the show. As the show grew popular, so did the problems. HBO picked up the show and they were the ones who decided to air it. They aired this show across the whole world on different broadcast stations. But with this being said, there was one problem. There were spoilers. With it being aired at different times throughout the world, people in other countries were releasing spoilers to the other countries and nothing could be done about it. Well, in order to solve this problem, HBO decided to come into an agreement with over 170 broadcast stations, which agreed to air the show at the same universal time, so there could be no more spoilers anymore. The show became so increasingly popular with the viewers that HBO now charges a subscription through their own app/website or through your cable provider. Along with the popularity on HBO, the show also recently got its own smartphone app. It sets you in the Game of Thrones kingdom where you are in control, and it's very popular today. The lore of the show touched so many people, and they're so interested in it that a brand by the name of Nabisco decided to come out with limited edition Oreos, which featured all the houses of the show on those Oreos, that are retailing for about $2.99 and being sold for $25.99 on eBay right now. If that wasn't enough, getting a brand as Nabisco, putting it on their Oreos, rappers SZA, The Weeknd, and Travis Scott are all featured on the Game of Thrones soundtrack, which is very successful for the show and for all those musicians. Now that I have talked about the increasing popularity of the show, I would like to talk to you all about my personal view in the show right now. The show is currently on its 8th season, with its 7th season being aired back in 2017. Like I said earlier, there is a genre for everyone, but that does not mean everyone should watch the show. Excuse me. The show is aired on HBO, which means that anything can be shown. If you are to watch this show, you are going to see blood, gruesome effects, nudity, and you're going to experience curse words as well. So viewer discretion is advised. A lot of people who did not watch the show but like to look onto it compared it to shows such as How I Met Your Mother and The Big Bang Theory, where they didn't want to take the time to get into the show, so instead they wanted to bash on it. I myself was one of those people before I got into the series. Like I stated, there is a genre for everyone. If you're into romance, horror, fantasy, or mystery, that show's got all of them, and that's only to list a few. I never took interest in the show personally until I realized how popular it was. The show didn't gain its popularity until 2014, but I didn't start my first time watching it until 2017. I watched about 15 minutes of the first episode and got very bored and turned it off. Well, during 2017 to 2018, it was a very quiet period. This was because season 7 was over and season 8 had nothing released on it on when it was coming out, so people weren't talking about it. Well, when season 8 was announced, people were talking about it like crazy, and it was the only thing I could see on social media. So I decided to myself, if this many people are watching the show and talking about it, it has to be good. So I went ahead and gave it another chance. Well, after my second chance, I can say that I am 4 seasons in right now, and it's been about a week, and it's a very good show, and I can't get enough of it. Today, I talked to you firstly about the novels and the author. Second, I talked about the increasing popularity of the show. And finally, I talked about my personal opinion and the current show and how it's doing right now. Game of Thrones does not have one single set story, one single set genre. Rather, it does have every genre for everyone. And then, if you're into horror, romance, comedy, anything like that, it's going to be there for you. Game of Thrones is the hottest show on right now. Game of Thrones is the hottest show on right now. And with that being said, it is keeping the audience on its toes. With it being the last season right now, people aren't complaining and they're not getting dull. Everybody is looking forward to the next episode. Thank you.